But anyway, you're good. It's good to be back.
It's great to be back.
Let's talk about that on while we're there.
Oh yeah, can we talk about it?
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I like your thinking.
Yeah, come on, mate. Okay, be bloody interesting.
We'll take it from the top. So, David Thomas is a man who's anything but your average public health professional. For our listeners, for people who are actually listening, Matthew.
Okay, sorry.
They'll be interested to know that David is a tech-savvy trailblazer, a certified personal trainer, didn't want to leave that out, David, and a Los Angeles Lululemon ambassador.
Wow.
Who's all about helping people become the healthiest versions of themselves. From UCLA to the University of Washington, David's academic journey in anthropology and public health is impressive, inspiring, and intimidating, to me anyway. Over the past 9 years, correct me if I'm wrong with anything here, David's worn many hats, working in hospitals, government agencies, private companies, and non-profits. Now at Amazon, the big Amazon. David is a global leader in behavioral health programs. We're going to have to explain what that is because I don't know what that means. Where he's redefining workplace wellness and spearheading innovative healthcare strategies relating specifically and possibly more to supporting employees and family members, which I find interesting, across the company globally as they travel on their roads to addiction recovery. David's pilot program and vision is for the program's application across businesses worldwide. The dream is big, but so will be its impact. One thing is for sure, we need more David Thomases in this world. So David, welcome. It's a big privilege to have you here. You've had a huge week because you are in Los Angeles. How are you doing?
That's a great question. And that was a lovely intro. Thank you so much. I could not have said that better myself. Very generous. But my heart is heavy. I'll be really honest. I've had some family and friends affected by the fires here, and have been navigating an interesting mental space myself because I was actually on a work trip for the last week and a half. And so wanting to be in my city and supporting however I could while also being away and doing the work that I do has felt a sense of gratitude of, not being in the space and being able to, breathe clean air, and while at the same time wanting to be with my city. So today we're doing great. I just got back from a volunteer event, and, we're going to take it day by day.
So I spent a bit of time in LA, and obviously so does David. So what is whereabouts are you based in LA?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I am in Brentwood, which is just a couple miles inland from Santa Monica, very close to the Palisades. So the Palisades fire, the first fires that broke out and spread really rapidly across the west side, over into Malibu, into Santa Monica, and parts of Brentwood. So my apartment is essentially situated on the mandatory evac and the recommended evac zones. So we were sitting in a high alert zone for a bit and then decided to evac just out of caution for a couple days. So the energy here is really interesting. There's people outside that are, moving around like it's normal. And then I can also tell that there's way less people than there normally are. But the skies are blue today. I think the winds help push the smoke a little bit out and up kind of northeast direction. But yeah, the energy is definitely...
It's crazy. Like you see the fires, and then I saw a friend was at the Grove the other day, like 2 days ago, shopping, and it's life as normal, yet it's
the fires are still raging, right?
Yeah,
correct. I believe the last time I checked, the Palisades fire was around maybe 25 or 20% contained, and then the Eaton fire, which is on the east side, was more around like 34 to 45% contained. And then there were, again, also other little fires around the area across Los Angeles that have been largely contained.
And is it true that people are there are people that are running around like just lighting fires? Is that right?
It appears so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've seen stuff online. Surely, we hope that's not the case, right?
Yeah. I think there's been a bit of it. But the net result is that there are going to be a lot of people who have lost their homes, families with nowhere to go, and lost their major assets, who are probably going to get into things like drink, alcohol, depression, mental health issues, and are going to need programs like yours. So take us back a little bit, David, to how you got into what you're doing. I mean, the Amazon thing's hooky and it's interesting, but
Yeah.
this is more specifically, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about or not, but this is more specifically about your pilot. But what led you to this? Like, how did you get into this specific field?
Absolutely. I'll take you way back because I'll start at the beginning because I think it's an important piece of it. I grew up in a service-based family. My dad was in the military. My mom volunteered or was, helping people as often as she could. And that was really, I would say, ingrained from a young age. And how that translated for me was I wanted to help people and be in medicine. And so kind of my entire life, I was working towards wanting to be in medicine, be a doctor, went to college at UCLA for my pre-med, and then realized at the end of it that I didn't know if I wanted to be a clinician, who are extremely important folks and do great work, but I wanted to have a larger impact. And so as I was thinking about the timeline for becoming a clinician and then moving out into the community, it just wasn't lining up with how soon I wanted to get started. And so I moved up to Washington with the intention of getting my PA degree or an MD degree, and then realized in an internship that I was like just not excited and motivated by that. And so I had a great mentor who talked to me about public health. I hadn't known much about it, and it completely changed my worldview because essentially, public health is the work to, at least in my opinion, and I'll talk about kind of why I think this way, but it's the opportunity and the ability to do work alongside communities that not only is fitting in with their way of life, but also helps deliver great health outcomes. And so I ended up getting my Master's of Public Health from the University of Washington in community-oriented public health practice, and had a passion for maternal and child health care. That's originally what I wanted to do when I was thinking about wanting to practice medicine. And I worked at Seattle Children's and our Child Health Behavior and Development organization. And that's when I really started to think deeply about behavioral health and how, the environment that we're in, what we're exposed to, really impacts somebody's long-term health outcomes. And so I did some research around physical activity and long-term health outcomes in young kids, generally preschool aged, and then in their providers. And through all this work and, moving around then to Public Health Seattle King County, I just was having an itch to continue to want to grow that impact. I worked with providers all throughout the state of Washington, childcare providers all throughout the state of Washington, and I just was itching for the next, thing to get into. And that's when Amazon came up. I had some colleagues in the area who had worked in Amazon in healthcare or wellness related fields, and they kind of pitched me a role that was opening up doctors' offices or what are called neighborhood health centers in areas where we have employees and their families that are medically underserved. And so that really fell in line with my ethos and what I was passionate about, which was helping people, working alongside people to deliver better health outcomes in the lives that they live. And that's where I started at Amazon, was helping to deliver this kind of novel healthcare option, which still exists today, which is great. And the great thing about public health is it teaches you a set of skills that allows you to be pretty flexible within the industry. And so I went from, doing this neighborhood health center initiative to then working with our global security operations group through the One Medical acquisition and leading our healthcare security strategy. And then moved into our global behavioral health team, which is where I'm at today and what we've talked about in the past, where I'm our single-threaded leader for substance use disorder, meaning that my work is focused on delivering opportunities, resources for employees and their family members who struggle with substance use disorders, or for short, SUDs. So,
SUDs, I've never heard that.
Sounds like a Scud missile.
Yeah, it's a long-winded way to say of how I got here, but it's been a really, I would say, deep-rooted passion to help people since I was young.
So,
Wow.
David, can I just ask a question? You're obviously, insanely intelligent, and you don't find the going to university hard or anything like that. But so it sounds like that you've given up the opportunity to be like, you could have been a surgeon or like a really high up, earning squillions of dollars as they do in America, and taken taken a completely different road, which is I'm assuming that public health is not as well paid as being a private surgeon and all that sort of stuff, right? So that in itself, to me, just says what a selfless person you must be, right?
Yeah. I had anticipated wanting to practice medicine, and to me, it's all about scope of impact, right? And so the scope of impact of a individual provider or physician is amazing. They do incredible work that is incredibly difficult, and they solve some of people's most troubling ailments and needs. But I also love people, and I love community, and I love talking with people. And so when I was thinking about how I wanted to make an impact with, the life that I have, it was going in the direction of how can I help as many people as possible. And really that is, I would say, my drive when it comes to the work that I do. And you're totally right. Public health professionals it's not the most glamorous job. A lot of people still don't know what they do. A lot of work in public health is in government agencies or nonprofits, hospitals, and historically and currently, they aren't as glamorous, right? And they're not as, I would say, high paid. I remember I was actually thinking about this the other day of just wondering back how I was able to survive earlier in my career when I was working in research full time. I had side gigs, side jobs, and I was scooping ice cream at one point while I was doing research on a full 40-hour work week because, as a research assistant, you don't get paid that much. And I was almost getting paid more scooping ice cream with tips.
Wow.
So it's a really interesting kind of situation to be in, but I'm very grateful for where I'm at today. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's awesome because you're following your passion.
Exactly.
And, that takes a lot of commitment, a lot of courage. And, I tip my hat because, it's not easy to live in a world, especially in LA.
No.
Like LA is expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Seattle's expensive. I lived in Seattle for almost 6 years, and, it's an up and coming city with a lot of tech. And so things were expensive there too. But, yeah.
It's a consumer culture too, with lots of like bright and shiny, expensive things, and everyone's about their stuff, their cars, their houses. That's a
but that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
David,
So
David could easily have taken that road and had all the trappings. I'm not saying that you're not going to get those trappings, but it seems to me like that's not what you're into, right? Which is pretty cool.
What I'd love to talk about is the SUD side. Is that correct? SUD?
Yeah.
Is the SUD side of things with regards to like how you specifically got into that? Was it just by chance alone? Is that where your career took you? Did you actively choose to get into that sort of thing? Because we talk a lot about addiction recovery and looking at not alternative methods of like healing oneself from things like that, but certainly different avenues rather than just some of the typical go to rehab, put a Band-Aid on it and move on. So with Amazon, this program is currently specifically for Amazon employees and their families?
Correct. Yeah. So, I'll start with your first question, which was, how did you get there? And I'll call back to, the scope of a public health professional can be varied and wide because of the skill sets that you learn through your training. And I had a great mentor at Amazon who approached me with the role, and I had to interview just like everybody else, but he's a brilliant leader, and I was excited to work for him. And when he brought up the subject matter, it was really exciting to lead our substance use disorder strategy. I personally have had quite a few friends with alcohol use disorders that have really been, I would say, impactful both in friendships and there was a piece of me that was, excited to work in this field because of that, because I had seen directly how that impacted people around them. I think one of the things that we know about substance use disorders is it's not just an individual impact. It impacts people around you and people that you love.
Yeah.
And it can impact people around you and people that you love. So I was excited and really looking forward to working to help support folks with that need. I've had the privilege of working with a lot of our employees across the United States. I visited, hundreds of our fulfillment centers across the U.S. across my role, and so knowing the wide variety of employees that we had, this was something that was just exciting to me.
So what does that work sort of like the nuts and bolts? What does it entail? Like, like supporting family. I take it like it's so somebody has an addiction and you go in there and you support them and the family. And is that right?
Yeah. So I'll give you kind of a high level overview without getting too much into the weeds of it. And I guess I'll just really, I think we caveated this at the beginning, but I'll caveat it again, that I am not a clinician. I'll just make sure that that's very clear.
Did I say you were? I'm not sure. Did I say that?
No,
No.
you didn't. I just want to make sure before I say anything, I'm not a clinician. I'm not here to diagnose or to direct. But, Amazon has a wide variety of resources for employees, starting from day one. So, as soon as somebody's their first day on the job, they can get access to really incredible resources, including those that are related to behavioral health. And so if somebody with a substance use disorder or who might be wanting to change their relationship with substances contacts the employee resource program, the employee assistance program, they will be routed to a free resource to help them get access to online and virtual resources or talk to somebody. And then if there are folks who are enrolled in, health benefits, so choosing to pay into medical insurance, which is different all across the world. It's a unique United States, I would say, experience as well.
I remember it well. It's crazy.
Yeah. They get additional resources on top of that are, I'd say, like a little bit more intervention-based, meeting with a provider to help support those different needs, whether it's alcohol use disorder, cannabis use disorder, opioid use disorder, or nicotine, etc. So we intend to make it as easy as possible for people to get the care that they need in a timely and clinically effective manner. And I would say that that's really the bottom line is we want to deliver clinically effective resources to our employees and their families as soon as we are able.
And those resources, David, what is entailed in that? Like, are you using new, untrialed, therapies? Are you doing alternative things? Like, how are you approaching it? Because that's really, really interesting. Because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff we've not even heard about that you're doing.
Yeah. So one of the things that we really think about is like, what are clinically effective, empirically studied interventions or resources that we can get people access to. And so with a lot of our resources, we actually work with third-party vendors or outside professionals to actually deliver the healthcare. So these are not Amazon-employed doctors. These are not Amazon-employed employees who are talking to individuals about their healthcare or their private health information. We want to make sure that people feel comfortable and confident that their personal health information is secure and safe and that it's not being shared with their employer.
Yeah.
So, they are third-party clinicians. They are third-party therapists. They are third-party coaches who, depending on the acuity and the need, acuity or like what's the level of care that somebody might require, they would be directed to different ways. So some people might receive what's called medication-assisted therapy, and so that might be in partnership with a clinician, taking something that would reduce cravings. There are, as psychotherapy available, so cognitive behavioral therapy, so helping people kind of in the moment process what they might need support with and build actionable plans to improve on their substance use or reduce it, whatever it is that their personal goal is. And so there's a wide variety of things that can be available, right? I would say the other piece that's really important to me as a public health provider and through our resources is taking a harm reduction approach, which is really rooted in that if you want to just change your relationship with a substance, we're here to help you, right? Because we know that any reduction in any kind of a substance use is going to have a positive impact in your long-term health and your immediate health. So it's not operating from a abstinence-only perspective, because that doesn't work for a lot of people. I think, as you have talked about and continue to talk about, there's many different ways of healing for different people. And so we want to meet them where they're at and provide clinically effective resources to the best of our ability.
That's an amazing company. Like, you got to take your hat off to them, right? Like, and it's also smart because, you keep your employees, and the fact that it's what you just said, that it's outside clinicians or outside doctors, outside help that has got nothing to do with Amazon, so that your staff can feel like they actually can go and like say, hey, I've got a bit of a cocaine addiction. Or
Is that effectively what you're saying? You know, somebody puts their hand up, or they get caught even, I don't know. I've got a drinking problem, I've got a drug problem, I've got a gambling problem, whatever.
and they're assisted.
And they say, well, here are some services that, can help you. And then are they given timeframes in which to sort themselves out? How does that all work? What are the metrics? It's fascinating.
Yeah. I can't share too much about metrics. I'll be completely transparent and honest. But what I can tell you is that for anybody who's listening, or her employers, or who want to bring something to their HR departments, is to take a look at the Recovery Ready Workplace guidelines, which really map out beautifully, and from a harm reduction perspective, how employers can create safe environments for folks who might be struggling with substance use. And there's not just
for sure
positive impact of offering recovery as an option when it comes to your workforce. There is some research around the fact that having somebody who's in care or who is recovering is less likely to get hurt on the job. They are able to perform better because they feel better, they are healthier. There's a lot of research around, just from, if we want to talk about like the business perspective, around retention. And, when you offer these great resources to your employees and they utilize them, they're actually like less likely to turn over in their tenure. And so I think what's really important is to acknowledge that substance use disorder is a global affliction. So many people experience it. I think around the realm of 100 million folks have an alcohol use disorder across the globe. There is rising cannabis use disorder rates across the globe. Billions of people have used nicotine and struggle with tobacco. I mean, it's just, there's so many folks that could benefit from resources that help to reduce or change their substance use. And I think it's really important that we offer that, like how many other companies offer resources for depression, anxiety, other behavioral health issues that maybe don't have as much stigma, and look at it as it is, which is a behavioral health condition.
Sorry, we lost a bit of connection there. No problem. It's also fascinating to me that not only do you guys offer this to employees, and this is presumably everyone from corporate office down to the packaging conveyor belt floor. Am I right? It's like Amazon across the board.
Yeah.
To everyone.
Yep.
And so not only them, but also you're offering assistance to their families in the capacity of support roles. Is that correct? Or directing them to care for how to better support their family member
and pay for it.
Yeah. So a lot of our resources extend to immediate members or members within a household. So that's what's one of the really amazing things is if you have a spouse or dependents or somebody living in your household, a lot of our resources are available to them. And I think that when we think about, substance use disorder, who it might impact, the fact that somebody can go into work one day and maybe their spouse is dealing with a substance use disorder or their kiddo is, they can get resources from work to help them so that they can show up at home and show up at work.
Wow, and that's worldwide.
So currently, there are kind of that, I would say that baseline level of resources that I talked about with kind of the navigation, virtual options. I just launched our US-based product in 2024, in July of 2024, and then currently working on our global expansion for other resources. But it's a really unique problem that the United States has when it comes to accessing substance use disorder resources. I think you'll find, and I'm not sure if you're familiar even, back home, substance use disorder care is treated completely different around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Just in England, just as an example, every kind of borough has a addiction clinic or a substance use disorder clinic or clinicians that are ready to support that. And so getting care is actually a little bit easier, and I think there's way less stigma when it comes to getting substance use disorder care. And then in some countries, there's way more stigma for getting care, and there is, risk to somebody's personal safety or well-being if it's found that they're using cannabis or if they're using a different kind of drug like methamphetamine. So it's
you mean they could go to jail? That sort of thing.
Go to jail, be entered into a system where they are tracked for the remainder of their life.
Wow.
Drugs. There's a wide variety of social impacts when it comes to substance use across the globe.
Even on a state-by-state basis in America, like I imagine in California, having lived in LA myself, like it's pretty liberal. It's pretty like anything kind of goes there. So I don't imagine the stigma around substance abuse issues is huge there, as opposed to a more conservative Bible Belt-based state, for example. I could be completely wrong.
It's a great question. I think about stigma a lot because, stigma operates on both like a personal level and a community-based level, right? So you can have shame and stigma, which are really powerful feelings, dictate your behavior or change your behavior. And then you can experience that from your neighbor or from your family member. And so, I do think that there is probably some nuance state by state, but I would say overall there still is a general stigma around substance use disorder. And I think what's interesting from like an LA perspective is, it's almost, substance use is almost woven into the culture of LA and Hollywood. And so I think there's like much more normalcy, and I'll speak from my personal experience about this. I think there's a normalcy around substance use, and, if people are struggling, I've had friends who have, said, I'm going to, stop drinking, or I really want to stop drinking. And people say, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
It's like, that's actually, it doesn't matter. Like, you should just support me in that decision to want to do that or change that behavior. And, that still exists, across
It's so funny that you say that, because when you do stop, everyone looks at you like, what? Hey,
Yeah.
We were having that conversation
just today. We were saying, it's weird how people look at you sideways. It's like you're almost not trusted if you don't drink.
What I was saying to Matthew is, when I stopped drinking, and I went through treatment 14 years ago, and when I came out, I knew that if I said to people, I won't drink tonight, or, I'm not drinking tonight, the response would be like, oh, come on, that's all you're good at, basically. And they would have strong-armed me into it and I would have drunk. But if I, from the gate, out the gate, said, I've just been through this, I'm an alcoholic, and, I no longer drink, it was a 90% chance that people weren't going to push it. 10% was still like, but surely you can have one little drink, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But, that shows you, and that's not, they're bad people. There's just so much ignorance around it as an illness and whatever.
Yeah. And I even feel it, and we don't have to go deep into this, but like, I also feel like a part of queer culture. Like, it's a really normal thing to be going out to the bars or going out, especially in LA, to like West Hollywood and, bar hopping. And, I've experienced that myself, where I've gone to those, events or things, and I'm saying I'm not drinking, and people giving me a hard time.
I think if you don't drink, you kind of get ostracized. Do you know, like if you go out, and if you go out and everybody says, like people look at you, but like, are you all right?
Well,
mate?
people are scared that you're going to firstly remember everything.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, judge them, remind them in the morning, just take photos of them. People
Which couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, and then people are also scared that you're going to like look badly on them, because everyone.
Which couldn't be further from the truth.
No, I love it.
You just want to be. It's just what you want to do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like
that stigma operates both ways, right? That's the exact same thing. I don't want to be around people potentially who don't drink, because then maybe they'll judge me, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the nefarious role of stigma, and I think really.
It's interesting, eh?
To be fair,
To hang out with
controlled drinkers are, it's fun. It brings the tone down.
Yeah, totally.
It's their maturity matches mine.
Yeah,
like it works.
Yeah, no, but it's a double standard. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. The other thing I was going to ask about, and this is a little bit personal, so again, feel free not to ask. A lot of the people I've dealt with, people we've spoken to on my personal journey too, therapists, people who help with these sorts of things, they're often people who've had experiences themselves. You know, people in AA, the thing is, you've been through it, you know what it's like. And I would probably, through ignorance, be wary of somebody who isn't an addict per se.
Sure.
You're not necessarily dealing with people face to face in terms of people with suffering from SUDs, but is there an element of requirement that the practitioners have that experience, or have we moved past that now because we know things that work just work?
I'll answer that in maybe one or two ways. I'd say the first is lived experience is a way to build trust, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of peer support groups. I mean, as you'll even see, and whether it's 12 Steps, AA, Narcotics Anonymous, etc., that use this idea of peer support, people with lived experience to help you make some changes in your life. And I think that is a really great way to build trust, because you know that person you're talking to has maybe had similar feelings and experiences. And so that is a great tool that works for a lot of people. I don't think you have to have direct experience when it comes to helping somebody with a substance use disorder. And so, I think what matters at the end of the day is that you're building a plan with a trusted clinician or a peer support group that works for you and that helps meet your needs. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have somebody you can talk to that you can relate to. And then a lot of people do both, right? They work with a clinician that may or may not have direct experience with substance use disorder. And then they also go to a peer support group. So there's many ways that folks can get care and recover.
Has anyone, or you might be doing it already, but has anyone looked into meditation as another string to the bow on the program? Because it's been something that's been working for me.
I love that it's working for you. Meditation is great. I should probably incorporate that more into my life, because I tend to live a very kind of busy and kind of go life, so I could benefit. Certainly, meditation is a great tool for folks. From a substance use disorder perspective, I personally can't speak to the clinical efficacy of meditation as a tool in the belt to drive effective recovery or clinical outcomes when it comes to SUDs. But certainly, I think it's a really great tool that helps people, kind of reset their nervous system, center and ground themselves, work through potentially arduous feelings. Well,
if you ever need a test subject, you can roll me out, because I tell you what, my addictive streak or nature or makeup it feels like it's evaporating. It's bizarre. Yeah. It's incredibly powerful. It's the most powerful. I feel like I've white knuckled 14 years. Drinking, not drinking is fine. Other bits and pieces, I don't think I'd have done in all of these 14 years if I had known what I know now. They should have meditation teachers and rehabs. That's what I genuinely believe is phenomenal.
Yeah, and you're not alone, right? I mean, I've heard of many different kinds of resources and centers and behavioral health applications that utilize meditation as a great tool, like a tool in the tool belt, right? And I'll just always go back to what works for one person might be completely different for somebody else. And so I encourage folks who are trying to find the best path forward for them to speak to clinicians or professionals to learn what all the tools are, and then, put into practice and play what you think might work for you.
You're massive into exercise. You take classes in WeHo, right?
What's WeHo?
Don't you? West Hollywood.
Yeah, so I teach classes in West Hollywood.
YOLO.
Yo, WeHo. Sorry.
Yeah. I've been an athlete for a long time. I actually got started with exercise when I was 11 or 12. I hated group sports, but my parents were told me that I needed to move my body and, do physical activity. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to a gym. And so I've been lifting now for, oh gosh, how many years is that? 17.
He's shredded. It's nuts.
17 years, maybe almost 18 years. I've been lifting weights and exercising. I was a runner as well and a rower. And I also just love physical fitness and helping people find their strength and build strength. I think to feel strong is a really great feeling that can improve kind of your outlook on life. It certainly has for me.
100%.
And so
Man.
I love it. I love exercise. You'll find me at the gym a good amount of time. That's what I am doing a lot of my social media is going to the gym.
So you thrash yourself.
Oh, yeah. I've never
Love
been
it.
stronger than in the last couple of years. I'm working with a really
He's
amazing
a
coach.
generator.
Yeah, I'm working with a coach. He's great.
We did an episode on human design, and
wow.
there are all these different types, and there's a personality type which is generator, which is what Matthew is, and that's somebody.
Yeah, who's into the physical side of, because I'm very physical as well. But so are you, David. You're pretty physical.
Yeah, but I think you guys are more similar in terms of, David, you don't stop from the moment you wake up in the morning. And not that you work hard or anything, but David does. Yeah. But, you go nuts. You work, you do the gym stuff, you incorporate it into a side job.
Yeah, you probably need a little bit of a slowdown, bro.
Yeah.
Just find a little bit of time, just put yourself in a little corner for a while, close your eyes and just, just chill.
So what's the dream for the pilot?
Yeah.
I'll take like a big picture approach from the public health part of me. So I kind of mentioned earlier, in the video that there's, I think a really big opportunity for organizations and groups to provide resources for substance use disorder to their employees or to their community. And the big public health part of my brain and thinking big and dreaming big is that, we are recognized as a leader to help push the needle for having more organizations support folks who are experiencing a substance use disorder, and their family members who might be experiencing a substance use disorder. I'll personally say that I believe that everybody should have access to high quality healthcare. Yeah. That really differs based on geography in the United States or income. Yeah. And, it would be really lovely if we continue to push the needle to drive other companies to do the right thing and provide more robust resources for their people. And so I think Amazon has done that in a lot of ways historically, of kind of leading the charge on different initiatives that have then moved from their employee base to the greater community or being offered to customers that aren't employees. And so I hope that, we continue to be a leader in this space and driving just education and knowledge that, substance use disorders are behavioral health issues that can be recovered from. And there's great research around people recovering and living full, happy, beautiful lives. And so that's kind of like my big picture, goal and hope and aspiration is that more companies continue to recognize this as a recoverable, issue. And then I think just like personally, I have a passion for helping people. And so on like a personal level, I do talk with folks who are struggling with SUDs, who have wanted to come forward and share like great stories. And I really love that I get to have an impact at like both that larger level and that individual level. And so I hope to continue to do that. And yeah, this has been a really interesting, specialty to learn about, and I'll probably continue to be in it for a while.
So another question, David, the stage that the program's at the moment, can other businesses, other corporates see what you're doing and approach you so that the program can be, it's like a plug and play system where they can pick up what you're doing and run with it themselves, or is it exclusively with Amazon at the moment?
So I'll remind that, as I shared before, the clinicians that we work with are a completely separate company, third party, that are offering these services already, right? So we, work with them to deliver clinically effective substance use disorder, interventions and resources and care. And so any company right now can hop onto Google, if you work in HR benefits or if you're a leader, and type in, substance use disorder, interventions or companies to help employees, and you will get a variety of resources or companies that exist to help do this. And so I think for anybody listening, the option to provide this is available now, right? Amazon has publicly stated, this in some internal, or not internal, but some external posts, that this is a resource that we provide for folks. And so any company that follows Amazon can see that, substance use disorder is a resource that we offer to our employees and their spouses and dependents. And so, yeah, I mean, it's available right now, right? There's obviously information that will never probably be shared, just from like a privacy perspective and respecting.
Yeah. Like I'd love to know, and I'm sure, I mean, if you know it, you can tell me, but I'd love to know on a percentage basis, like how much of the Amazon workforce, I mean, I'm sure you can't share that. What percentage? Because it could be tiny, it could be huge.
No, it'll be big.
But imagine the knock-on effect for a community if you're helping these people,
Yeah.
their family members. Like it's, the impact could be enormous.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the statistics that I will tell you, it's not Amazon specific, but from a national level or a global level, we see that like 1 in 7 people need substance use disorder support. And so when you think about how many people that really is, it is so many, and it's so common, right? So 1 in 7 folks could benefit from substance use disorder support, and or changing that relationship with a substance. So the opportunity is huge, right?
Is
that's 100? That's 14 out of every 100.
14 out of, yeah, 1 in. Oh gosh, this is really challenging.
It's pretty much, isn't it? Yeah, pretty much 14 out.
Is that classified as an epidemic? Like, is that up there with like heart disease, smoking?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, and again, I can't recall the exact studies off, my head, but when we think about nicotine and we think about alcohol, they're some of the highest contributors to preventable death. And so when we think about the need and the impact that substance use disorders have on populations, it's pretty significant. So we want to, and again, I want to encourage anybody who has leverage or ability in an organization to think about how you can, meet this global need or national need, depending on where you operate, because it exists pretty significantly in the population.
It's phenomenal. It's incredible what you're doing, what you've done, and what you're going to do. Like,
unbelievable.
We're very Australasia centric, but people listen to us in Europe as well. So business owners will be interested in this sort of thing, because I think the understanding now is that there are people like us, I reference myself, are not lost causes. Like, we may not be fixed, but we can be helped to a degree where we're rehabilitated.
Yeah. I think I'm lost.
Yeah, you're lost. You're doomed.
Hey, mate, look, honestly, it's been a real pleasure chatting to you. And I take my hat off to you, because, you're leading the way, I guess, at the forefront of public health. Mm-hmm. And I tip my hat the fact that you haven't gone down the road that most people go down and go, hey, and do, which is
Yeah, you followed the money.
What?
Didn't you, in your career?
Well, I just played sport.
Yeah.
Right? I just went wherever it took me. Okay? I just happened to get paid. Okay? Jesus. Anyway.
David, it's been a real honour. Thank you for your time. You are crazy busy. Good luck with the fires. I hope everyone's okay.
Yeah, mate. Like, don't get out there. We don't need you to get out there and put a helmet on and run around with a hose. Okay? Right? We need you back in the office just strategizing.
Yes.
Right? We don't want to lose you to the flames, mate. All right? Just get in the gym. Okay? Hide in the gym. Do some squats. Okay.
That would drive somebody to drink. Do not let them near Amazon headquarters. David, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, yeah, mate.
Thanks so much.